What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another special Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smack Talk podcast from SmarkOutMoment.com. This is the WWE Clash of Champions 2016 post-show, where I'm going to be recapping my thoughts on the event, talking about all of the things that transpired, all the matches, the results, breaking down my opinions on those kind of things, and anything else we want to talk about. I am your host, Tony Mango, flying solo again for this one because everybody's a bunch of old farts and they want to go to bed instead of doing this or whatever, Scheduling, I told you guys before, is kind of getting in the way of some of those things, but nonetheless, we are here, or at least I am, and I want to talk about this pay-per-view quite a bit. I probably can fill up an entire whole podcast on my own just talking about what I liked about this event, because despite what everybody wants to say now and again, I try to look at everything as a fair and balanced point of view. If I like it, I like it. If I dislike it, I dislike it. And there are so many things that I liked about this. Actually, this is going to be going on my list as a potential choice for best pay-per-view or special event for the entire year. It was, for the most part, all positives, even on the outcomes of the matches that I didn't necessarily agree with. And there aren't too many examples of that, but I'm going to go down the entire card from start to finish to show you guys just what I'm talking about. If you didn't see it and you don't want to be spoiled of what happens, then obviously you should bookmark this and check out the pay-per-view and then listen afterward. Or if you don't really care, then maybe this is going to be the thing that convinces you whether or not you should watch it. Probably more on the side of that you should watch it, because that's why we recommend. But let's start off with the kickoff. The pre-show was essentially a normal pre-show. I mean, we didn't get anything crazy here. We weren't subject to a bunch of extra added matches or anything like that. A couple notes that I had written down. One thing that made me laugh was Booker T apparently doesn't really know TJ Perkins' name yet, or maybe it was just a flub. I'm assuming it's because he doesn't actually know him, but he called him TJ Parker. So, of course, in our Mega Maniacs chat, he's just Parker. For now, he's going to be on Teddy Parker. Lots of burns on Tom Phillips' haircut, which is kind of justified because it's a really shitty haircut. I don't know why he decided to go with that style, but it's terrible. He needs to grow it out. Our only match that we had on the pre-show was the Alicia Fox and Nia Jax match, and that wasn't too bad. I mean, I was thinking that this was going to be a squash match that was going to be utter crap at maybe its best. I mean, that's kind of the negative way I look at it, sure. But I really didn't have a whole lot of faith in this, but they ended up allowing Alicia Fox to look a lot better than I thought she was going to, so that in turn made it more interesting, which in turn made it a better match. She's got new ring gear, which looks great on her. Very underrated in the looks department. I don't know why we don't talk about her more. But Nia Jax did some good moves. I like that she's using that Samoan drop as a finisher, because that's a much better finisher than the one that she was doing before, which was basically a body slam. Mark Henry's World's Strongest Slam is a stretch, but it at least works because he's the world's strongest man. She's not the world's strongest woman, so to do a body slam, it's just not good enough. Samoan drop, though, she lands her full body weight on you. God damn, that's going to hurt. So I like that as her finisher. I think she should keep that going forward. I like Alicia Fox kind of utilizing her legs a lot here and doing a lot of kicks, because that's what she should be doing. That's her most, what would you call it? Pronounced aspect about her, I guess you could say, because she's got long legs and she's good with kicking more so than trying to do like a power game with her arms and stuff. So they told a good story here. Alicia Fox is much better than the jobbers, so she should have put up more of a fight. And I gotta say, this got a thumbs up from me. A lot of people probably skipped over it, and in the grand scheme of things, if you didn't see it, you're not going to be really missing much, but still, it was a good way to start off the show, I think. Now, I am disappointed about one thing, and I'm just going to tie this into the pre-show. We didn't get any appearances whatsoever from Enzo or Cass, and I still think that they should have had one match, however quick it was, against the Shining Stars in the pre-show. There was more than enough time for them to throw a 5 to 10 minute match in there, because the pre-show was basically just recapping stuff, and I mean, as much as that's got its benefits because the people that are watching the pay-per-view might not have seen every episode of Raw, it's sort of kind of pointless, too. I mean, you got an hour, and I don't know how long the Alicia Fox match was. Let me see if I can check that out while I'm rambling on here. I'm assuming it's only a few minutes, so it definitely wasn't some half-hour, Iron Man kind of match or something. All right, it says, according to Wikipedia, it was 4 minutes and 55 seconds. So 5 minutes plus the entrances. Maybe give them 3 minutes for those entrances. Hell, you know what? Let's just double the time even. Give them credit for that. 10 minutes out of a 60-minute time slot. You could throw another 15 minutes on there for an Enzo and Cass match. So I'm disappointed in that. I think that it's weird that they didn't take any part in this pay-per-view at all because it's just a Raw event. You would think that the second biggest tag team on the roster would have some kind of a promo or something like that. So I'm disappointed to see that. But at the same time, and I said this in some of my other reviews, the lack of them being on there didn't take anything away from the card. So that's one positive. It's not like they were advertised and then they didn't do it. And that's sort of something that you were looking forward to. They never said they were going to have a match on the card. So it would have been cool to see them because they're funny. And that's a negative that they weren't a part of it, but it's the lack of something positive rather than the addition of something negative. So that's the glass half full kind of way of looking at that. But our first match of the card itself was the Tag Team Championship match, and that was Gallows and Anderson losing via trombone, essentially. I liked quite a bit of this match, and I thought this was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. One of the things that I liked about it a lot, the New Day comes out there, they do their promo, which of course is funny because I like the New Day, but instead of having Gallows and Anderson come out and try to do another shitty humorous promo, because they suck at that and they should not be doing that anymore, they went straight to just smashing, and that's what they should be doing. They made a name for themselves over in New Japan for being the NWO, essentially, of this era. Now, the club obviously doesn't have the same numbers as what the NWO used to do or what they had back in New Japan, but they should still be the same type of characters. They should still be the types of guys that go out there, beat the crap out of people, bully everybody around, and win. Now, they didn't win here, but I think that they made the right decision by not having them win. The way that this went down was essentially Gallows and Anderson beating the living hell out of the New Day, not squashing them in a boring way, but beating them down and being the decisive, better team for the most part. But Xavier Woods cheated. So Gallows and Anderson are going to have a bone to pick, a trombone to pick, I guess you could say. And really you can argue that the New Day deserves to have to defend their titles again. There weren't many options to keep this feud going. This is a way to do it. Now, I still kind of think Gallows and Anderson are going to win these titles, and I wasn't expecting Hell in a Cell to be the time that was going to happen, because I thought it was going to happen at Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and then I thought that it was going to happen at this event. Hell in a Cell, if that passes by and they don't win those titles, I'm going to start to get a little bit worried about them. But I also kind of don't want them to win too, because I still love the New Day so much more. So this was a fun match. It had a good ending to it, and it kept the belts on the team that I like more. So I can't really complain about that, right? Next up after that was the Cruiserweight Championship match between Brian Kendrick and TJ Perkins, aka TJ Parker. And the first thing I need to talk about here, TJ Perkins has a new entrance theme that he's got going on, which is awesome. It basically sounds like a fucking Mega Man boss level. And I love the old soundtrack from the Mega Man games. I mean, Dr. Wily's Stage 2 theme from... Or, was it Stage 2? Actually, now I'm trying to blank. Mega Man 2, the Dr. Wily theme, the one that's like... There you go. There's your variation of an outro, I guess you could say. That is so good. The Mega Man 3 theme, the Mega Man 2 theme itself, too. So many good themes that were in that soundtrack that they had back in the old NES days. And when you do music that essentially sounds like that, I'm going to love it by default. And it also says on his entrance video stuff, maximum HP, which Eric Badger brought it up in our Mega Maniacs chat. He said at the end of the match, are they going to have like the HP go down and stuff like that? Which I thought that would have been hilarious, but there's really no way to calculate that kind of stuff, so I don't expect that. But at the same time, kind of expected him to steal Kendrick's jacket, like that you do when you steal the powers from like Gutsman and stuff when you beat them. So that would have been kind of funny. But not only did that have a good way to start this off, just for eliciting a response from me of, hey, you like Mega Man music? Well, here's Mega Man music. And then, you know, already kind of tapping into my childhood like that. They also changed the ropes to be purple. And that was a great way to distinguish that this is a Cruiserweight division match. It's separate from everything else. they did it quick enough that it wasn't slowing down the card and stuff. They had like the video package playing, and that's when they did it or whatever. And we went back to the normal stuff after that too, so it wasn't like it was just all purple for the whole rest of the night. I really dig that a lot. I think that that's cool. It shows that there's something different going on, and I don't want them to do it for everything. They don't need to make like the bronze ropes for the tag titles. They don't make I guess white ones for the women's, because they can't really do red because it's already Monday Night Raw. Well, the purple stuff is different, so that's a way to separate it a little bit and get everybody in the mindset that we're going into Cruiserweight division here, so that's cool, nice little touch. I dug the match a lot. I mean, these matches from the Cruiserweight division have been kicking ass, and they're continuing that whole idea and philosophy going forward. I thought this was better than the match that we saw for the Fatal 4-Way, and if this is the level that we keep getting, I'm sold. I mean, the Cruiserweight Classic was amazing. This is great. Keep doing this stuff, and I'm going to keep having this as a highlight, I'm sure. Even after the match, too. They had Andrea DeMarco. I can tell her apart from Charlie now, which is pretty good. I'm going to pat myself in the back for that one. Could not tell the two of them apart for the longest time. She went into the ring to interview TJ Perkins, and Kendrick decided he kind of wanted to do the whole embrace, handshake kind of thing, but instead of just following through with that, he headbutts him. Good. He's a heel. He's supposed to be pissed that he lost. He wants that championship. That was the whole point of him being 37 years old, and this is his last run and that kind of stuff. He should be pissed. Why not? So I dug the character work that they did there. I thought the match was great. I like that TJ Perkins retained, and I like the beginning entrance music. Start to finish, this was just great. Now, this is going to be weird for me to say. So was the Best of 7 series match. I have a long-standing history of not really digging Sheamus. I mean, that's from his ECW days. From the very beginning, I have been down on Sheamus. And every once in a while, he proves himself to be a worthy person on the roster that I actually enjoy. And this was one of those instances. I actually really, really liked the match between Sheamus and Cesaro. They had a lot of good back and forth action. They had the two of them kicking out of each other's finishers, which was nice. And I know I'm going to be, oddly enough, one of the few people that kind of likes the idea of this match, because so many people are going to be on the opposite end of the spectrum. They're going to be complaining about the way that it ended and stuff. And I have said for the longest time, I hate it when they stall and it takes too long and stuff like that. But there's something about the way that they did this that I'm actually okay with. For those who don't know, the end of the match ended up being a no contest. It was a draw. Cesaro had taken a couple nasty spills throughout the match, like that suicide dive, which, can we just ban that move now? Everybody keeps gonna, oh man, I'm worried that they're gonna get injured and stuff. But they played up his injuries. They played up an injury that Sheamus would have taken from going over the barricade. And they found a way to make it to where the Best of 7 series should have ended, yet I still want to see an 8th match. And that's difficult to do, especially because I haven't really dug a lot of the matches that they've been doing for this. But this was the best match so far, without a doubt. And instead of the people booing, they were all chanting, "Let them fight." I think that's a key thing to mention here for the people that dislike the ending of this. The crowd could have shit all over this, and it could have been the turning point of the event that made everything afterwards suck because everybody's sour on it and everybody's depressed and whatever like that. But instead, it was such a good match that everybody wanted to see more. Now, I thought that there was a chance Mick Foley would come out and he would say, no, it's not going to end like that. But if you do the injury angle, then he's not going to come out and say that, because why would anybody want to risk the health of the people that are in their employment just because the fans want to see more? So, storyline-wise, it makes a lot of sense. I'm curious to see where they go from here, because there is the potential that they take this in the wrong direction. And if they do, then we're going to look back on this and kind of go, I probably should have just ended it. But I think that there's a lot of potential. And I'm going to look on the optimistic side of things here. I think that this could end up being a really good change of pace where I don't want it to be a best of 15 series or anything like that, but maybe they kind of stall this a little bit and it finishes at Hell in a Cell. I would be totally up for that. And I think that Cesaro winning still makes a lot of sense because he can still go up against Kevin Owens. But spoiler alert, for a little bit later on, we could have something with the Sheamus and Roman Reigns thing. And if that's the case, then we might need a little bit of time to stew on that too. So The best of 7 series was one of the things I wasn't looking forward to, and it ended up being one of my favorite parts of the night. Kudos to those two guys. So let's talk about Sami Zayn versus Chris Jericho, because that was one of the things that I was looking forward to the most. Rock solid in-ring performance from the two of them. Very simple, yet effective. I mean, the story is basically just the old best friend against a new best friend and the friction that comes between that. So they didn't really have to overbook this. They didn't need to go crazy. It didn't need to be a gimmick match. It didn't need to have anything like an interference angle to it. It was just two guys that are really damn good wrestlers having a really damn good wrestling match. So I can't complain about this whatsoever. And unfortunately, there's not a lot to talk about when it comes to like specifics and stuff. So this is kind of a short little review for this thing, but I recommend everybody to go check that out if they've missed it, because if you like Chris Jericho and you like Sami Zayn, you're going to like the match. It's as simple as that. Now, the Women's Championship, I have some things to kind of pick apart with that, but I did like it overall. I thought that this was a good match. Not as good as some of the other ones that came before it, but better than the thing that came afterward. Again, it's one of those things that I've been saying for a while. If you've been listening for a long time, you know that I've been down on a lot of women's matches ever since they started this harping on the whole Revolution thing, because they want to make it seem like they're as good, if not better, than the men's matches, and on average, they're usually not. Now, that's not to say that the women are bad performers, because they're not. Some of them are fantastic, and I'll defend to the ends of the earth that the best match that one year was Sasha Banks versus Bayley. That was just so freaking good from last year. But a lot of the ones that they keep saying are amazing don't end up panning out. And this had a ton of potential to it, and I don't think that it quite lived up to its potential, but I went into this not expecting all that much, and it ended up surpassing it. So, hats off again. If I'm wrong, I would love to be wrong like that in the future as many times as possible, because the end result is that it's more entertaining. And I don't want to be right about something and think that it's going to be shitty and that it is shitty and have to sit through a shitty match. If I think it's going to be bad, I want to be proven wrong. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. I do think the big problem with it, though, is Dana Brooke. And it makes sense that she would help out Charlotte now that they've kind of retconned the idea that she isn't going against Charlotte. But I really wanted to see Dana Brooke just get away from Charlotte. So the fact that they backpedaled on here and she's still just her minion is disappointing. I mean, this was a potential chance for her to get involved, and I thought that there was a possibility that she could have done something in this match. Maybe like Sasha and Bayley are going up against each other and Charlotte's taking advantage, and then Dana turns on her or something like that. But if you check our predictions, I was saying Sasha and Bayley are going to get in each other's way and Charlotte's going to retain, and that's exactly what happened here. And it makes sense, so I can't fault them for it. But at the same time, it's always a little bit disappointing to see that the champion that you're not really into is retaining, because it means it's still going to focus on Charlotte. And I don't really like Charlotte all that much. So I want the title to change hands. I can't really argue that it should have happened here. I would have been cool with it happening here. And it is what it is. Then we got into what I think was my least favorite match of the night, which was the United States Championship match between Rusev and Roman Reigns. And as I mentioned before with that little spoiler warning ahead of time, we have a new champion. Roman Reigns defeated Rusev after Lana was sent to the back. She's barred from ringside, and he ends up hitting another spear, and he takes the title. So this is another thing where it can go either way. I'm not too keen on seeing another match between these two, because this was a little bit slow, and I just really didn't enjoy it as much as the other matches. But part of that could have been the crowd, because when you've got all these people that aren't supporting either of the two of them, it kind of dampers the mood a little bit. So that's another reason why I kind of don't want to see these two feud anymore, because I want to see Roman Reigns go up against somebody where people can support the other person. Rusev doesn't really get that support, so it's kind of a heel against another heel, kind of, but neither of them are really that great. Now, I don't hate Roman Reigns like a lot of people do. I think that he's a fine performer and all that, but the more that you beat him down, the more that you kind of strip away his character, the more boring he gets. And when he's just coming out and he's doing what he did on this thing, kind of don't want to see another title reign like that. So it's kind of in the same boat as Charlotte, where I've seen this before, and I don't know if I really want to go through months of seeing this again. So, with the United States Championship, here's the thing. Did they give the title to him as a means to give a championship to him and take him out of the Universal Championship picture? Or did they give the title to him because they want to use that to transition to somebody else? And this could go in a really positive direction where they use Roman Reigns and they turn him heel and they have him lose the title eventually to, say, Cesaro or Sami Zayn or something fun like that. Or do they do the boring route, which I really, really, really do not want to see, which is he fights Rusev again at Hell in a Cell, and then he's either on the Survivor Series team or he's going up against somebody like Sheamus at Survivor Series. Or worse off, he goes up against Rusev again. I certainly don't want to fucking see that 2 more times. And then you see him just beat a bunch of heels leading up to Braun Strowman. Now, Braun Strowman is making some strides in the right direction, and he's going from somebody who sucks in the ring to somebody who's kind of entertaining to watch, but he's just having squashes. And I don't think that you can put him up against the Roman Reigns and really have a fun match. So I'm not looking forward to a feud between those two. I still think Braun Strowman should win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania and not be in a title match. So if Roman turns heel, that could be fun. If he stays a babyface and they still keep beating that down into everybody and just going, you know what? If you don't want him as your world champion, fine, but you're getting him as your U.S. champion, it's going to backfire and it's going to be boring. So I don't hate the idea that he's the champion because I don't love Rusev either, but it all kind of depends on where they're going for this. So we're going to look back on this. We're going to say either this was a huge mistake or it really didn't matter in the long run, or maybe it ended up being one of the best things for Roman Reigns. Who knows? But our final match of the night was the Universal Championship between Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, and Kevin Owens retains with a little bit of help from Chris Jericho and a referee bump and some confusion and distraction and all that. And I think that these two have a lot more in them that they didn't tap into. The potential between these two having their matches is far greater than what we got. Now, that's not to say that this was a bad match, because it wasn't. Although, I think that it wasn't as good as it should have been. So, maybe they're holding back, and they're going to kind of keep this going, and they're going to have another match at Hell in a Cell. I'm assuming so. Maybe they're going to even have another match at Survivor Series. It all sort of depends on when Triple H comes around again. And that in itself is something to talk about, because utilizing Chris Jericho here was a means to keep the title on Kevin Owens without having to have Triple H come out, which means they can save Triple H and bring him in later on, and it means a little bit more. I don't think it should happen at Hell in a Cell, unless it's a Hell in a Cell match that they're having, which again, I've been saying this for years, Hell in a Cell should not be a pay-per-view, let alone a Raw-specific pay-per-view. That limits it so much more, and they should just get rid of that, have something like Vengeance or whatever, or create a new name, because that would be so much better, and just do like kind of like what Backlash was, because Clash of Champions was pretty stupid as an idea itself. This isn't all the titles, it's all the Raw titles, and they're going to be defended on all the pay-per-views, so kind of don't like that anyway. But Hell in a Cell could end up being a better match than what we got here, and that's what I'm kind of holding out some hope for. I did like it, so I can't shit on it. And I'm glad that Kevin Owens is still the champion. I like babyface Seth Rollins. I think he's going to be working out really well. Of course, like Chris Jericho getting involved, because Chris Jericho is great. Him just pointing out, that's my best friend in there, that kind of stuff. So, in the grand scheme of things, this event was fantastic. Lots of good matches, and even the worst match of the night was still something that was enjoyable to a certain extent, which was the United States Championship match. I think that the championships all kind of stayed where they needed to stay, and there's potential for a lot of things in the future. Now, of course, as I mentioned before, this could go in the wrong direction, but if you want to compare Backlash to Clash of Champions, Raw wins. On the overall spectrum, this was a far better event than Backlash was. Backlash wasn't the worst thing in the world, but I mean, I like this a lot. I think that if you are listening to this and you haven't checked it out, if you got the free time, put it on, check it out, watch the matches. They were a lot of fun. And tomorrow night when we do Monday Night Raw, we're going to find out some of the answers to some of the questions that we got. Is it going to be a best of 8 series? Is it going to be a heel turn for Roman Reigns? Are we going to get anything weird with the tag division? Any of that kind of stuff going forward. I'm interested to see where they go, and that's what they should be doing. They should be making me entertained enough that I like that I watched this event, and I'm also curious for more. So I'm also curious, on top of that, what you guys have to say about this. What were your favorite and your least favorite parts of the night? What you like, what you not like? What do you think that they're going to do going forward with any of the titles and anything like that? And do you think Backlash was better or worse than Clash of Champions? But that's going to be it for me for this whole pay-per-view point. I want to thank you all for checking this out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and that thumbs up to like the video and promote us a little bit more on the YouTube search algorithm and all that kind of stuff. Follow the Facebook and Twitter accounts, as well as, of course, the website itself, smarkoutmoment.com. But would you look at the time, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and I'm being counted out.